We, the RV YouTubers slash influencers, have failed you. We have failed the RV community. And that includes me. Welcome to HBRV Lifestyle, the podcast. I am the host, the Honey Badger, here to give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business, as well as other things. Now, there may be some light foul language in this episode. I'm going to do my best not to go all Honey Badger, if you get my drift. But just a fair warning, there may be some slippage here and there. Number one, my head is still full, so there may be some loss of concentration here and there. I still have a cold. I still have a breathe right on my nose. I still have vapor rub under my nose to just keep myself sounding halfway normal. But reality is I feel like not only that the RV YouTube community, meaning the influencer community, has failed you, but that I have failed you too. And let me explain something. Let me explain why. First off, let me explain that it is a hit of adrenaline when a video or a YouTube episode or a Spotify episode or anything of that nature goes viral. When you have what I call an outside video that does just really well compared to everything else and gives you thousands of subscribers and tons of watch time and in some cases gives you some decent ad revenue, it's like a drug. You just want to hit that high every single time. So what do? You try to replicate it. And this is something that I was failing at towards the beginning of this year. Now, some of you have reached out to me and said, what's the Mr. Beast stuff about? What's the child safety stuff about? Where did that come from? Where did the 20-year financing episode come from? It came from a fact that the mission of this podcast is to educate. And there's so much more to the RV industry and the RV world than frame failure / frame flex with Grand Design RV. Now that is important. I'm not saying it's not important. But there is no new breaking news about Grand Design RV and frame failure / frame flex. It's the same news that I was reporting on a year ago. It's the same news that a lot of influencers have reported on in 2022, 2023, etc. But the reality is there's so much more to the industry. And what keeps reminding me of that is a lot of your emails that you send me. Child safety. Someone just sent me an email about Riverstone and their frame problem that they're having on a Riverstone fifth wheel that includes an axle problem. Okay? And I'm going to go deeper into that in another episode. But there's so much more out there that we keep recycling the same stuff because of that adrenaline hit. Or maybe some influencers depend on the ad revenue to make a living. Okay? I mean, I know I pick on her, but look at Liz Amazing. Every video is about somebody having an Armageddon level issue with an RV. Or doing an interview with somebody that, says all RVs are a piece of crap. It's a common theme on her channel. It's a common niche on her channel. Josh the RV Nerd. Constantly telling everybody that something's innovative. That something's so great. That something's so wonderful that he's never seen anything like it. It's like every video is like that. Now, a lot of it is he's become basically a spokesperson and salesperson for the manufacturers. He's not the same influencer he was when he was independent. Okay, so it's what he is. He's the face of the RV industry, or one of the bigger faces in the RV industry. So he's just doing what he's instructed to do. But we're failing you. All of us. Every one of us RV YouTubers. Every brand ambassador. Because we keep giving you half-assed information. or recycled information for views. Here's a great example. Cruising with the Carsons. Greg Carson seems like he's a really nice guy. I no longer speak with him. I've blocked him on all social media. I've blocked him on my phone. Why? Because there's an integrity problem there. Okay? And I don't need to go into it. If you want to go into it, you can go into my homepage and see the videos I did about it. I did a lot of videos about it. I did a lot of podcast episodes about it. I wasted a lot of energy on it. Okay? He comes out with this video that is very clickbaitish. Stuff I've covered. Stuff Liz Amazing has covered. Liz has covered it before I covered it. Jason from RV Miles covered it on 3 different episodes of his. Almost 6 months ago. I covered 8 episodes of what he talked about. Almost between, November of 2023 to about 5 months ago. So it's not new information. It's the same information, but if you go look, it's his largest video. In one day, he did 19,000 views. And several Facebook groups are sharing it all the way around. It's recycled information. It's information everyone already knows. Let's get some new stuff. Yes, everybody's frustrated with NHTSA. Everybody's frustrated with the federal government. Everybody's frustrated with the RV warranty process. Everybody's frustrated with the RV industry right now. This is not stuff that's new. So if you've noticed, I've kind of changed gears. On my main channel, I'm going through my top 5, bottom 5, kind of giving you my thoughts between single axle travel trailers. I'm up to now pull behind toy haulers. Next week, I'm going to do fifth wheel toy haulers, fifth wheels, and motorhomes. If you've noticed, a lot of what I talk about right now is where the industry stands month to month. I talk about 20-year financing, whether it was something dumb or not. Whether it's something dumb or not. I talk about child safety with bunk beds. I'm going to talk about brake safety pretty soon. I'm going to hopefully hook up with Dustin Simpson and talk about what to look for I-beam cracks and how to fix them. Do an interview with him. I've got some interviews lined up finally on this podcast. I'm going to talk to a good buddy of mine. Well, he used to be a good buddy of mine, but he sold with me at Giant RV. He wrote a book. We're going to talk about his book. I'm almost finished with mine. I originally was going to do it as a members only thing on my YouTube channel, and I got 3 people that were interested. So obviously everybody wants me to write the book and finish the book rather than do a video book. Understandable. I'll put it on Audible or whatever else I'm going to put it on. Amazon. But the reality is that we have to stop recycling information because all it does is frustrate people. All it does is you click on a video and then it starts the same old conversation again. And I get it. Okay? I'm not going to let the frame failure, frame flex thing die, but it's not going to be the main talking point of this podcast. And it shouldn't be the main talking point of everyone's YouTube channel, because there's more going on in the RV world that is new news. Motorhomes are not selling. There's states that are going to ban motorhome sales. And by the way, RV Miles, Mr. Jason, you need to go back to my video that I did 2 years ago about the California ban. It's not a ban on motorhome sales. It's a ban on generator sales. And actually, motorhomes are exempt from the new registration law. I got the links and everything from the actual CARB in that video. In fact, I'll link that video in the description box for you, Jason, so that way you can revise your video a little bit, because you just were missing some information. And it's hard, Jason, because, and even for RV Miles, even for Jason, it's hard because the CARB is a big pain in the butt. So it's not a negative thing. It's like, here, let me share some information with you that I did 2 years ago. That was my largest viewed video for a long time, and still one of my largest viewed videos, because a lot of people are like, can I actually buy a motorhome and register it in California? And the answer is yes. Can I do it next year? Yes. Can I do it in 2035? Yes. They are exempt from a lot of the laws because they're a low mileage vehicle. And I explain how to do that in that video. Okay? But that's nor here nor there. But that's the type of educational stuff. Like, Jason did a great job with that video. I'm going to say he's missing some information. But again, very hard to get straight answers from government. It's hard enough trying to get straight answers from the RV industry. Just imagine trying to get it from government. Right? So, again, great video by Jason at RV Miles. Excellent video. Something that's different from what everybody wants to talk about for that hit of adrenaline to see all these views. I got back to a mindset over the last 4 months that I need to make it about the content, not about the views. And that's where I failed you for a few months. For a few months, that's all I did was make everything out to be Armageddon. I was doing everything in my power to see the hit of adrenaline of views because it felt good. Not again. You know, do I make the I make the titles right now borderline clickbait, and I make kind of weird thumbnails that are more cartoonish now. Why? Because I got to turn the page. I'm going to talk about frame failure. I'm never going to let it die. 5 years from now, I'm still going to do an episode or two every year about it to remind everybody so it's never swept under the rug. But it doesn't need to be every episode of this podcast. Every episode of this podcast does not need to be the Armageddon world-ending events. Sometimes we just need a little extra something that gives us a little more of a push into the right direction of why are seatbelts not in this coach, but they are in this one? Why is it that they use different air conditioner sizes? Why, how do I do this? How do I do that? Those are the things we need to start talking about. Where is the industry at as far as interest rates every month? Where are they at for as far as loan terms? Are loans still being given out? Those are the things we're going to continue to talk about on this podcast, and we're going to start interviewing people. I've got people that actually want to come on here. But then again, I screwed up too. I screwed up really, really bad. And he's going to get mad at me, and I'm going to get a phone call about it, but I'm going to talk about it. Jason Lippert wanted to come on this podcast. I'm not going to tell you when. And we were organizing it. And realistically, because of my ego and because of my desire to get all that hit of adrenaline at that time, I canceled it. I believe that was a huge mistake on my part. Huge mistake on my part. I should have had Jason Lippert on this podcast. Him and I were not coming on the podcast to talk about frame failure exactly. But what I wanted to talk to him about was innovations. Talk about what the future of frames were. What the future of ACs are, what the future of solar, future of things. How can we get more innovative in technology to make the earthquake less of a problem? What I really wanted to do, having Jason Lippert on the podcast, was to expose the manufacturers and their cheapness a little bit. That was my real actual goal by having Mr. Lippert on this podcast. And because of my ego and because of something he said during an earnings call, I got all up in arms thinking, well, I'm going to lose. This is the God honest truth. My thought was, I'm going to lose viewership if I have Jason on the podcast and don't grill him to death over what he said during an earnings call. So instead of continuing to be an educator, I failed you and canceled it myself. Sent him an email, canceled it. And I look back months later and go, I screwed up not only for myself, but I screwed up for you. I let my ego get in the way of helping not only you, the consumer, but also kind of expose the cheapness of some of the manufacturers. I'm pretty sure that I could probably get some of the CEOs from some of the companies on this podcast if I just called and asked. I could probably get Pete Legal if he's feeling up to it. I probably could get Bob Martin, possibly Doug Getter, possibly Winnebago, possibly Pablo at Genesis Supreme RV. But again, I recycled so much content about frames and how everything's going on and everything of that nature that I screwed up big time because I got away from the education. I got away from my mission of being the honey badger, here to give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business. And there's more to the RV business than what was going on with Grand Design. Do I regret the first initial stuff? No. The first initial stuff was really good. The first initial stuff I did on it was amazing. And still viewed and watched today on both the main channel and the podcast. But check this out. The subsequent stuff that I kept recycling over and over and over again about frame failure and frame flex in those middle months, they died. They got that hit of adrenaline, 3,500, 4,000 views in the first 6 hours, and then they died. Because people were sick of seeing and hearing the same thing every single day, every single week. And no offense to Greg Carson, but all you talked about in your latest video was a broken record of stuff that Jason RV Miles has said. JD at Big Truck Big RV has done an extensive work on it. But one that I criticized him about, and then some stuff subsequently that I haven't, because he's actually come around and said some things and been more like where I'm at as far as being a consumer advocate. And the other mistake I really made, and I made a huge mistake, and that was joining a bunch of Facebook groups that were talking every day about everything is so bad. I dropped them all. I was part of 22 groups. And I exited those groups today. Why? Because I'm petty a little bit about some things. And then on the other side, it's every day, it's the same conversation. Every day, it's the same drama. And we need to educate people about things that are not about campgrounds and 50 amp service not being available or things of that nature. But at the same time, I ask that my colleagues that are monetized, huge RV YouTuber channels, everybody that's a corporate RV dealership YouTuber, everybody that's an independent, everybody that depends on ad revenue and sponsorships for their YouTube channel. I call on you to be different than what you are right now. Now, some of you are contractually obligated, so I know that there's nothing you can do. You can guess who that is. But the rest of you, I challenge you to be different. I challenge you when you do a walkthrough video on a travel trailer or a motorhome or an RV, that you expose not just the good, but you expose the bad. You give people a more transparent look. Because look, at the end of the day, I got into this game way late. My channel has plateaued. It's not going to get any bigger. My main YouTube channel, I've already saw the writing on the wall. I'm not going to get any bigger than I am. It's never going to spread. I'm never going to go viral. It's just the way it is. I don't have the personality. I'm too in between. This podcast will never get bigger, really much bigger than what it is today. And there's not a problem with that. I'm going to continue to work just as hard, even if I stay the same level for the rest of the time of the podcast and the rest of the time of the main YouTube channel. I'm never going to stop working and making an effort to make this thing the best education channel and the best education podcast that you can get on YouTube when it comes to RVs. But fuck, man. It's not going to get any bigger or better. It's just a fact of life. So I call upon you to be different. I call upon you guys, as I unplug my electric car from charging, I call upon you guys to expose both sides and be very honest about it and be very clear about it. And stop telling everybody that it's something you've never seen before when it's the same stuff you and I have seen for 15 bloody years plus. Stop starting things with that kind of hook. How about start with, wow, you know what? I love this small change about this fifth wheel. But I'll show it to you in a minute. Let's start with the outside. Boom. There's a good hook. They changed one little thing I really love on this fifth wheel. Boom. Or this travel trailer. Boom. Stupid charging station. So that's my challenge. My challenge to the bigger channels that have 500,000 subscribers, 200,000 subscribers, 150,000 subscribers. Do something different. Make the RV education experience more fulfilling for the consumer, for the RV community. Not for our egos, not for our adrenaline hit, and not for the money. Until next time, toolkit and sense of humor.